So, Joe Biden is running for president in 2020. Now, if you're not aware who Joe Biden is, he was Barack Obama's vice president. So, he already has experience in the White House. He already has, he knows how the White House works. He has his experience. And that is certainly something to fight against. Someone that does have experience. Then again, Hillary had experience. And she's also backed by the media, which we think Joe Biden will no doubt be backed by the media as well, most likely. And he's been actually polling pretty dang high in the polls, despite not announcing up until now. So he's certainly a threat. He's certainly someone to contend with. And we're just going to go through this quickly. So, in a video announcement, Mr. Biden argued that the core values of the nation are very democracy, everything that has made America America is at stake. Now, I wonder if he's really just going to be an orange man bad guy. I really do think, because when you got to think of Joe Biden, he's not like a Ocasio-Cortez. He's not like a Bernie Sanders. Those people are ideological. Like, those two people, they fight for what they believe in. What they believe in, I would argue, is pretty awful and not something I would agree with, but they fight for what they believe in. And in that respect, you can at least accept that. You can at least admire that when they take a position on something, they probably believe it. Now, granted, if you're running for office, you might say something or not say something. If you find that saying something will lose you votes and it's not really anything beneficial to say, it's not something you're fully committed to, then you might not say it. There is a bit of a leeway there. But for the most part, we can say those people are fighting for what they believe in. Whereas Joe Biden seems like more of just an establishment politician, that he is looking at the field, he's going to take his positions based on what people believe, based on what people will vote for, and he's going to take those positions. So if he sees things moving further left, he's going to shift further left than he was, 4 or 8 years ago. Whereas the same thing, like if he sees that, if he really thinks that like the moderates, he's got to get the moderate vote, he doesn't want to go too far left, he's probably going to keep that in mind as well. So that's something to think about. He's going after Bernie Sanders too. Like in the polls right now, topping the polls are Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders. And Bernie Sanders, as I just said, is very ideological. So to compete with that, Joe Biden, I'm not an expert on politics, so Joe Biden might want to shift further to the left to pick up some of Bernie's vote, or he might also want to distance himself from Bernie to say, look, I'm not Bernie Sanders, therefore, if you don't like Bernie Sanders, vote for me, kind of thing. Like he wants to distance himself to the point where Bernie, he's not gonna come across too much like Bernie, that people that don't like Bernie won't also not vote for him. Was that a double negative? Perhaps, possibly. But anyway, it'll be very interesting because he's pretty much he's an establishment politician, so we'll see what happens. But unlike a lot of the other establishment politicians, he is rather popular, and I don't really understand it. There were some rather decent Joe Biden memes that made him look kind of dumb. The jokes like I've seen, like the Joe Biden memes a few years ago were all like, you put the bread in the toaster and the toast comes out, but where does the bread go? Stuff like that. Stuff that was like Joe Biden, it made him look dumb, but it made him look like lovable dumb, that kind of thing. Where you were like, oh, that's funny. Like, people that liked Joe Biden liked those memes, and that was the Joe Biden meme, like him saying something dumb, or well, not actually, of course, but putting him in a picture and then some kind of caption. And then, nowadays, like, I haven't seen many of those in a long time. The new Joe Biden memes seem to be mostly the creepy Joe Biden memes, and if anything's going to hurt him, it'll be that. The fact that he comes across as a very creepy dude. In fact, I remember in the 2012 elections, there was a vice presidential debate between him and Paul Ryan. Now, Paul Ryan's another pretty, corrupt politician. The people on the right don't really like him much either after he ran as, after he was Speaker of the House. And Joe Biden actually, it was viewed that Joe Biden lost that debate in that even though he made good points, even though the debate wasn't valued based on what he said. It wasn't what he said, it was the fact that he was laughing, the fact that he was messing around, the fact that he didn't seem to be taking things seriously, the fact that he seems to come across as a jerk. Honestly, that's what it was. He came across as a creepy old man. And a lot of people said he lost the debate for that reason, that they didn't like how he acted. Not what he said, but how he acted. So this is going to be interesting if he comes across as something I have to remember is he is running for the Democratic Party, and he is a rich, creepy old white man. So, who knows? Then again, so is Bernie Sanders. And I made a video a while back saying Bernie cannot win because for that exact reason, he is a, old, rich white man in a party that is running for, more women of color in politics, more progressives, more women, more, just talking about, basically more minority, no more white men in politics. And I can never tell. This will be a decent thing to figure out as the election goes on. Are those people just the loudest and most obnoxious, or are they really a large majority of the electorate? Because I imagine that most people that are registered Democrat are ordinary people. They don't care much about politics. They might listen to the news every so often, but for the most part, like they don't pay much attention, which is fine. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. If you're an expert in the field, I want you to focus on being an expert in that field and not politics. Some people say like you have to get involved, and I don't take that opinion necessarily. It's like if you're uninformed about politics, that's fine. Just don't have a strong opinion on politics, basically. But there will be a lot of ordinary people that will look at Joe Biden and say, well, he has experience, he's left-wing, and he's running for the Democratic Party. He was Obama's vice president. I liked Obama, so maybe I'll vote for him. There could be a lot of those people, though they're not the ones like screaming and being loud and obnoxious and just being the loudest voices in politics. Those people are the ones saying no more white men in politics, which is something that, again, like it doesn't seem to have affected Bernie Sanders' poll numbers so far, so we'll see as time goes on. But I think that's something he has to contend with. If that's an actual question in the debates, which I don't know if it will be because, well, it depends, because the establishment so far is back like Kamala Harris, and they also like Joe Biden. I think the establishment would like Joe Biden, so they will no doubt back him as well. But if a question comes up like why should we vote for you when we could vote for Kamala Harris, who is a woman of color, and get her in the office, we could get our first woman president. That's something to remember. Like if people vote for him, they're removing the chance of our first woman president in 2020. So who knows? Like that's something to keep in mind, that people that are focused on their first woman president aren't going to look at Joe Biden and say he's a good candidate. I've seen some people predict that he is really only going to go downhill from here because, again, people have fond memories of Joe Biden as Obama's vice president, and they know he's experienced, they know he's a good candidate, they know he's won with Obama before, so perhaps he could win again on his own here. People are thinking that stuff. But once he announces, again, once he starts saying stuff, is he going to go downhill? Like Trump had a big name recognition advantage. Like he was high in the polls early on, because he had the name recognition. Because no one had ever heard of John Kasich. I never heard of John Kasich before he ran. But people knew who Donald Trump was. And the difference is that once he was high in the polls, he still kept himself high in the polls. That what he said kept him at the top. So when Joe Biden runs, it's like, as soon as he starts talking, is that going to plummet him in the polls? Or is he actually going to say some smart stuff that people will support? Who knows? But I think this is all stuff to keep in mind. Because looking at the polls here, I have that right here. It does seem like, hey, he's got quite a bit of an edge. He's certainly someone we have to keep an eye on, someone that has a chance of winning. In that respect, maybe that's it. Maybe the goal is, like, even if we have to sacrifice a woman president, we need to defeat Trump. Therefore, we need a Bernie Sanders or a Joe Biden. Who knows? And this is something I've even thought about, and I'm not really sure what the answer is. Because if it's not obvious by now, if you're the first time you're watching me, I'm right wing. I come out generally like center right on the political spectrum, and it seems to me that I really don't know. I've been thinking about this, so let me know what you think in the comments. I don't like the establishment corrupt politicians, but I also don't like the really ideological people on the left, like the far left ideologues. I don't like them either, because even though I respect them for what they believe in, they go pretty radical, and I disagree with a lot of what they say. So I really don't know if I would prefer a corrupt establishment candidate that I know won't go too far left without losing votes or losing support. I know he won't be incredibly anti-capitalist because that's not how you stay in office. But then again, if the very ideological people, I know they won't be corrupt. I know they'll stand up for what they believe in. But as soon as they get power, they're putting some pretty awful policies that I don't want. So let me know what you think in the comments. If you're on the right wing, do you want if you had to pick lesser of two evils, would you predict would you prefer a corrupt establishment like center left wing, moderate left wing candidate, or would you prefer an ideologue like a Bernie Sanders type? So I don't know. It's an interesting question. I really don't know what I prefer, and it's something to keep in mind here. Like, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Joe Biden's done pretty well. I've seen some people say like as soon as he announces, he's just going to drop downhill. As soon as he opens his mouth, it's going to happen. When I look at Joe Biden, I think creepy. Like, he looks weird. Yeah, I don't like him. We saw in 2012, people didn't like him because in his debate with Paul Ryan, like the vice presidential debates, people didn't really like him not because of what he said, but because of the way he came across. He came across very creepy and weird, and people didn't like that. He was laughing a lot and like in the mean sort of way. Like it's people didn't like him. So we'll see what happens here, but it'll be interesting. Let me know what you think in the comment section, because I really don't know if he's a threat. He is obviously objectively a threat right now, for people that like Trump. But we'll see. I don't know. Will he maintain that, or will he, as soon as the first debate happens, will he plummet downhill? Who knows? But let me know what you think in the comments section. Like the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe for more. And thanks for watching.